Good morning, everybody. I'm the chairman. I have right to start now because we are a little bit even late. I was waiting. It's a morning session, so people just to come. I would like to invite the speakers now to take a chair here. Okay. So this session, first of all, I want to tell all presenters that the session is recorded and the presentations will be available on the internet, and if any one of the speakers doesn't want to be recorded, he should tell us after the session so we can take out this presentation from the recording area. So I'm the first presenter. This is a joint presentation, FAO and World Bank presentation. It's focused on the experience in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And I have a general overview in my presentation, and after that I have 3 countries which will share their experience and which presentations are complementary to my presentation. So it's a people representing government authorities, and they will share their experience with us. After that we have a presentation which is also a joint presentation with the World Bank. Kathrine Kelm will present some innovation work which we are doing in Albania. The overall framework for the land tenure work is the voluntary guidelines of responsible governance of tenure of land fisheries and forestries. This document has been negotiated with all UN member states, and it has been endorsed by the Committee on Food Security on 11th of May 2012, and now this is the first so-called soft law for the tenure work. Implementation has been encouraged by G8, G20, Rio Plus 20, you see. It's a major initiative of non-government organizations going on to push the governments to respect the principles of voluntary guidelines. Major companies took the responsibility and engaged them. Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, they said they're going to follow the principles of investment. Let's see how it's going on. It will be a huge impact in Africa in all fields for the sugar production. And the document is endorsed by the World Bank, which means every new project will be respecting the main principles which were agreed by all governments of UN. 109 countries attended the negotiations. They were voting on behalf of the government, and the European Union was voting with 1 vote together with all pre-accession countries. So 109 countries voting doesn't mean that there were 109 people who vote, representing much more countries. African Union were voting as 1 vote, and that's why the number is less than all UN member states. The content of the document, it's more directed on the internationally recognized principles, and I just highlighted 2 sections which are very relevant to the conference. It's responses to climate change and emergencies. You know, land and what is attached to the land is very important when you have floods, when you have disasters, and conflicts resolution. Part 7, call governments for promotion, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Again, it's a voluntary document. It's the governments which decide if they want to implement it, but in fact, it represents internationally agreed best practices. The initial draft was based on a lot of consultations around the world, but then the final draft is what the government agrees. So sometimes it could be not exactly the perfect, but this is what the whole world agreed. So we should respect the opinion. A little bit to fill the test of the language. The document is available in 6 languages, which are official UN languages: Russian, English, French, Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic. I highlighted a little bit text which is related to sharing of data, and the text says like, States should establish policies and law to promote sharing as appropriate of spatial and other information on tenure rights, etc. Information should be shared in accordance with national standards and include disaggregated data, etc. And then there is another place where say national standards should be based on the international standards. This is the so-called, by the World Bank, Europe and Central Asia region. The countries in gray are countries which did not have projects with the World Bank. And the countries in colors, they have assistance from the World Bank and FAO during the last 15, 20 years. And you see green and blue countries which started much before 2000. And the brown and red are countries which had support after the year 2000, and we are starting new project in Uzbekistan. 43 land administration projects in this region have been financed. 1.6 billion of dollars loans and grants were invested by the World Bank. Plus, always these projects have government co-financing and other donors like European Union, Norway, Netherlands. It's a lot of bilateral donors who contribute to these projects. 15 ongoing projects for about 635 million, 3 new projects in the pipeline, and 15 research and knowledge projects. 56% of overall investments were made for introducing information technologies. What are the results of this huge investment in the last 15, 20 years? In Doing Business report of the World Bank, which they publish every year, they survey 189 countries around the world in 10 major areas, and they try to see where it's easy to do business. So 4 countries from this region were ranked as the top 10 countries in the world, which made the biggest jump in 2014 report, which has data from 2012. So they collect data 1 year, the next year they analyze the data. End of 2013, they published the report for 14. So 4 ECA countries were ranked as the one where it's easy to do easy to do business, and I have the pleasure to have 3 of them here now with their presentations. In the section where it's easy to register property, one of the 10 areas, one is where it's easy to open a new company, where it's easy to get building permits, and the area which we follow now is where it's easy to register property. In this section, 11 countries from this region are in the top 20 economies around the world, which are the best in where it's easy to register properties. Ukraine made the biggest jump in 2014 report. They went up 61 places. They're still quite behind and still a lot of work to do, but congratulations. Russia also went to number 17 from 46 last year, so congratulations to them as well. In the early 90s, many of those countries did not have basic laws, institutions, trained staff, even a vision what they want to do with the land management. And now you see they're leaders around the world. It's quite an achievement to have 11 out of top 20 in the world. Improved governance of tenure. Most of countries in our region have IT systems for property registration and cadastre. They put data online. 2 countries are lagging behind, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Tajikistan are working on their system now, and Uzbekistan requested support from the World Bank. The project is under preparation, and they requested a lot of IT. What I'm saying, services are the key. Technologies too. You can use one technology or the other. It's important what kind of services you provide to your citizens. FAO is involved in some study with Transparency International for Global Corruption, Anti-Corruption Index. And our study shows that land is the 3rd most corrupted sector around the world, globally, including Western European countries. The first are police, the second court. So if you have problem with land agencies, you go to the court and they're second most corrupted. And you go to the police to complain and people are really stuck. And we should do something. And Public access to information cuts the road to corruption. It doesn't mean you stop it, but you minimize the opportunities. And we have a lot of good examples in our region. Online records, tracking systems, simple application. People can see where is their application, what's going on, is it in the real deadline or there are delays, and you see the countries which have that. Minimized clients' interaction with local offices. If you simplify the procedures and minimize the time people go to the offices, you minimize opportunities for corruption. Tariff procedures, deadlines published in all countries. Using standard forms is another way to minimize corruption. Random case distribution in Russia, they don't know who is processing the application. So you submit the application in the front office and it goes somewhere. Staff and offices performance monitoring. Once you have central system, you can see everyone how long he keeps the document, what's going on. So it's, you know which office is working and how they're working. Length is diamond, but information is a power. If you hide the information, then people feel weak and they don't know what's going on. Contribution to social equity. This is a small project in Western Balkans. We get 6 countries volunteering to participate. They form teams with government policy makers, technical staff, private sector and NGOs. They took data from their IT systems for property registration and cadastre, and they wanted to see if women own properties, how much they own, how they inherit the properties, or if they sell and how much they own. And then the data were presented in a form of maps, so you easily see in each country where are the problematic areas. And despite the fact that we have laws and constitution and everybody has equal rights, those are the data which we got. And the government all governments were quite surprised because everybody think we don't have problems in Europe. And there were a lot of studies for Africa and for Latin America, but not for Europe. So it's a good impression. It was done very quickly, and I want to thank all countries which helped this to happen. At the local level, some municipalities have 3% of properties which are owned by women. Improved services. This is an example from Russia, but you see much more from them after my presentation. E-services represent last year 34%, reduced steps, people are going not 4 times, but only once at the office or maximum twice. Citizens do not need to bring any more documentation which is issued by government or municipal services. This means if the document is issued by some government or municipal organization, you shouldn't ask people to bring the same document. They find it through the internal networking. Another example from Ukraine, simplified procedures in 2013 with the new law. From 5 or 4 steps, now people are going twice. Decreased time for registration, average 21 minutes, and they had weeks, even by law, or sometimes months. Decreased waiting time at the offices, decreased cost, and data sharing with registration system and notaries. And secrecy of coordinate systems were applicable till 2012. 1,460 local coordinate systems in 2012. Now they have unified cadastre map, which became one of the most popular websites last year. Azerbaijan, it's a little over here. No mouse.
ASAL centers are a single place where 9 state agencies are unified to offer their...
Azerbaijan is a country with a rich oil history, but understanding that oil and gas resources will someday come to an end, the government has prioritized the development of IT. Earlier this year, the innovative project Asan Services was launched.
ASAN centers are a single place where 9 state agencies are unified to offer their 25 services. Simplifying the lives of citizens, ASAN centers will help people to solve many administrative issues in a short period of time and all in one place.
Government institutions will now render a multitude of services in a completely transparent environment. Recently, custom buses have been imported to provide easy access to those living in the regions.
We call it Mobile ASAN Service. The buses will travel to the regions and save money and time for the local populations. The data center of the bus is integrated into the main ASAN data center via satellite, and the services are provided on the basis of cloud technologies.
People can use an integrated ATM machine, free Wi-Fi, internet, printers, take ID photos, and even receive medical services all inside the bus. Asan is Azerbaijan's new brand, which is aimed at simplifying the lives of its citizens.
Okay, so this is a multifunctional center. You can buy property, you can sell properties, you can get your driving license, blood test, everything. So they went to Russia to see, because Russia is implementing this for a long time. And then they did this, and I think Russia will like it. Azerbaijan said it's even better. I don't know. So another example is from Albania. They just finished the building of their new cadastre and registration system, and they have government e-gateway under the Ministry of Innovation and Information Technologies. So several government institutions, by the end of this year, 8 registries will be connected through this e-gateway, which is a new opportunity for fast data quality improvement, new e-services and innovation. This is the Albanian system, how it looks like. It's fully centralized. It's the first system in the region based on the Land Administration domain model, which is ISO standard since November 2012. They have this structure, and this is the gateway, and it's ready for connection. Those are the type of documents which you can take from Albanian system, and there is a new project, EU and World Bank finance, under preparation to improve data quality. How our data are related to INSPIRE? Those are the INSPIRE teams which are typically under the responsibilities of cadastre and mapping authorities. It's quite a lot, and mapping authorities and cadastre are very active in implementing spatial data infrastructure. Most of countries in the region are working on spatial data infrastructure, and this is the countries and the laws and coordination mechanisms, strategies, geoportals. Key issues are data quality and completeness. Data are not complete, they do not cover the whole territory of the country, and the quality is historically not good due to different technologies, paper-based systems, etc. Some example from Ukraine, innovation work done with crowdsourcing to fast improve data quality. When they published the cadastre map in 2013, they converted data from thousands of coordinate systems, so there were errors coming historically. And people were reporting for errors. In Kiev, the first week, 88 errors reported, 56 found with the same nature. So once they resolved one error, 2,000 properties went in the right direction. So innovation really can help, and we have to think for simple applications where you can attract people to participate, and you can faster improve data quality. Another project for data quality improvement is a project of using an aerial vehicles. Kathrine will tell you more. We prepared 3 videos for decision makers, very short, 2 to 3 minutes, to understand what is the benefit for the surveyors and for the project managers. And I'm finishing now. This is the areas where the countries now are requesting support. I'm not reading that, we don't have time, but I put in red, all countries request support to spatial data infrastructure and for data quality improvement, which are critical for all above. It's like alphabet, you should have that. So thanks a lot. You can read more on our website, and I want to give the floor to the second speaker. It's Alexandra Osipova. She's from Rosregister. It's an agency for registration, cadastre and cartography from Russian Federation. It's the biggest system which they're building in the world. They unified several registers, they unified several agencies, databases. So just close this one. Alexandra is head of informatization and e-services department in Rosregister.
Dear colleagues, I represent the Federal Service for State Registration, Cadastre and Cartography, Rosregister, which was established in 2009 and responsible for registration of the real estate property rights. Cadastre maintains supervision of cartographic activities and provision of numerous other related services in the Russian Federation. The country covers more than a ninth of the Earth's land area and is inhabited by over 143 million people. My presentation includes three parts. The first part will concern a description of the real estate right registration system and cadastre maintenance in the territory of the Russian Federation. In the second part, I will tell you about the success which has been reached today by implementing information technologies in this sphere. And the third part is about our future plans to develop real estate rights and cadastre systems. Russian property registration system is one of the biggest in the world. Rosregister's databases contain the data on over 130 million of registered land parcels and real estate units, as well as over 250 million of registered titles, restrictions and encumbrances. Since the beginning of the 2014, more than 25 million rights, restrictions and deeds have been registered, as well as more than 7 million requests have been made for cadastre registration. Next slide. Framework of the real estate rights and cadastre system is a database that counts 1.5 petabytes. For implementation of its state's functions, Rosregister currently employs over 70,000 people that work in territorial offices and in the central office. Let's proceed with the second part of the presentation, in which my colleague Andrei Mukhin will tell you about a success reached.
Hello, dear colleagues. I would like to proceed with the success reached, as Alexandra said already. One of the main targets of our work is to increase the quality and accessibility of services of individuals and legal entities. In this regard, the transfer to provision of services in electronic form allows introducing significant improvements such as a possibility to receive services remotely, reduction of procedures duration, easing access to information, and the simplification of the document submission. Since 2010, 22% of all interactions with customers have been transferred into an electronic form. Now, private businesses and individuals can perform multiple procedures online, such as to obtain information and the ownership rights on the ownership rights and encumbrances, conduct title search for a property, may have access to databases to view and download information, get official electronic documents with signatures, and use web services. While in 2009 there were no e-services available. Since 2010, 11 million documents have been delivered by the electronic form. Comparing the costs of former and current procedures, we can see the noteworthy reduction. In 2009, an average cost of obtaining documents for individuals considered of $12.3 and $37 for legal entities. Nowadays, it is $4.6 for individuals and $9.2 for legal entities in electronic form. The average time of procedure decreased from 4 hours to 10 minutes. So only for 3 years we managed to save a huge amount of time and money for our clients. Next slide, please. Search, inquiring, and receiving information about real property units have changed from difficult and time-consuming procedures to easy and remotely available services. While in 2009 obtaining information was possible only in Rosregister offices and in paper form, in 2013 one can receive online references, a detailed economic document with digital signatures, and even to have permanent access key to informational resource of integrated state register of property rights and transactions. Next slide. Public services of Rosregister at the beginning of June 2014 can be provided in 900 so-called virtual offices, which the name is My Document, and this is provided in 81 subjects of the Russian Federation. The percentage of claims on the provided public services in Rosregister virtual offices for January till to April 2014 was 18.5%. The main advantages of public service through My Documents are fast acceptance and issuance of documents, reduction of corruption, reduced costs through optimization of public services. Next slide. In 2009, one had to apply in person to Rosregister office. Today, applicant can register real estate unit in the cadastre via e-services, but they also can do it in a formal way by bringing documents to Rosregister offices. Anyone can also subscribe to track changes in the status of property unit. In addition, any person may subscribe to track changes in the status of his property, transfer of rights, errors, encumbrances, restrictions, and so on. Next slide, please. Another popular services of Rosregister is the Public Cadastral Map, PCM. It provides free of charge data on land parcels and buildings such as address, area, status, form of property, number of stores, and so on. Next slide. The services and information of the public cadastral map are available as within the web application on the official site of Rosregister and also via mobile devices and as WMS services. About 80% of visitors are using web applications, 15% web services, and 5% mobile applications. Over 150,000 interactions for iOS systems and over 90,000 installations for Android by now. Popularity of public cadastral map among users is obvious. Over 15 million visits of PCM was recorded in 2013. 5 months of 2014 already showed 10 million visits. 20% of them are unique, single, and 80% are repeated visits, which proves that visits are done purposely. Permanent growth of popularity brought Rosregister to the necessity of software and hardware modernization. The upgraded system will be able to supply much more queries, will provide more GIS functions and more instruments for users. Next slide, please. Spatial data is an important issue on the agenda of the state bodies of the Russian Federation. Improving the quality of spatial data entails improving the quality of work of our authorities of all levels. Great importance is also given to definition of the rules of interdepartmental cooperation to exchange spatial data. Next slide, please. The Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation was conducted the work on creation of a national spatial data infrastructure. Taking into account inspired directive standards, geoportal of the Russian Federation and the GIS platform of the Russian Federation were created. Today, geoportal contains metadata on the materials and data of the Federal Cartographic Geodetic Fund, which contains digital topographic maps, navigation maps, and so on. The work on the inventory of the fund has been performed for overall availability of materials. Rosregister has planned a transition to the provision of services, materials, and data of the Federal Cartographic Geodetic Fund electronically. Next slide, please. Data on real estate, the data on real estate and infrastructure prices and deals with them are open. Registry data sets are publicly available in the form of open data. One of the goals is to provide technical services and infrastructure cooperation between the authorities for maintaining databases and publications. The main problems are the safety of personal data and preventing the use of data for criminal purposes. Next slide, please. While our clients benefit from the transfer to e-services, we are also glad to see that our efforts to improve the quality of services were evaluated and recognized by the World Bank rating Doing Business 2014. In this ranking, the Russian Federation stands at the 7th place among 189 economies on the ease of registering property. While in the ranking of 2013, we were at the 46th place. Next speaker will be again Alexandra, because she will make some plans for future and also resume. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Andrei. I have a resume of my documents, and finally I would like to proceed with the plans for the future. As I told in the first part of presentation, electronic database are the framework for real estate rights registration and cadastral system. However, now there are two databases, one of which contains information about real estate rights and another one cadastral information. For the period 2014-2019, the main goal to reach is to create integrated state registry of real estate property, which includes data from two of these resources. It will allow improvement of the e-services provision as well as taxation. Next goal concerns data quality development maintained in registries. Moreover, a quantity of data sets from informational resources will be increased. Our future steps for development of e-services are aimed, first of all, at the provision of e-services for registration of real property rights and at further facilitation of the existing ones. We also strive to increase the public value of the data, to serve the public sector, businesses and citizens, to meet the needs at all levels from local to global, and increase flexibility, high stability, data diversity in systems, and to provide more integration into other systems. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much to Alexandra, and it's really very impressive. Wish you good luck and success in your future plan. Thank you so much. I want now to give the floor to Macedonia. We are going from one of the biggest countries to one of the smaller size country. We work in all different countries, big, small, and different priorities, different areas, but you see now how Macedonia managed to get to the place where they are now. And it's Goce Gruevski, he's IT director in AREC, it's called Agency for Real Estate Cadastre. Yeah.
Thank you, Rumyana. My name is Goce Gruevski and I'm representing the Agency for Real Estate Cadastre of Republic of Macedonia. We are a national mapping and cadastre authority, registering all the real estates and also the mortgages. I will speak today more about implementation of Inspire Directive in Macedonia and also all the services that we are providing so far for the professional users and also for the public users. These are some basic facts about the Republic of Macedonia. We are around 2 million citizens. We have 25,000 square meters in our territory. We have 1,700 cadastral municipalities and around 4.2 million parcels registered. We have 1 million owners and around 500,000 of buildings, including flats. Access to the internet is quite high and is increasing all the time. Here are some basic facts about our Agency for Real Estate Cadastre. It's independent state authority is a legal entity with rights, obligations, and responsibilities defined by the law on real estate cadastre, Official Gazette of Republic of Macedonia, number 55 of 2030. Our agency is responsible for managing the geodetic cadastre information system. The geodetic cadastral information system, just to clarify what we are dealing with, is an integrated and unique information system in the Republic of Macedonia, which enables acquisition, processing, maintenance, management, use, distribution, issuance, and a single access to the data from the real estate cadastre. The basic geodetic works, the geodetic works of special purposes, the real property survey performed in service of the real estate cadastre, the survey and the maintenance of the state borderline of Republic of Macedonia, topographic maps, special units registry, graphic registry of streets and house numbers, and the registry of construction land. About the NSDI implementation, and according to Inspire Directive, so far we have developed and adopted NSDI strategy, and it was prepared and adopted by the government of Republic of Macedonia. Just after that, law on NSDI has been adopted by the parliament. So during this strategy development, we make some pilot implementation. It was pilot application for fire protection, just to show what NSDI means and what are the benefits to all state bodies and all the citizens of Macedonia through this NSDI. And we have created one more pilot application. It was for air pollution visualization, which was on previous conference presented here on the Inspire. And also we have provided and localized a metadata editor based on GeoNetwork, and we provide this GeoNetwork for all state bodies to produce the metadata for the upcoming NSDI and National GeoPortal. I will speak a little bit about the e-cadastre services. Our agency is in the center of all these entities that are involved in the maintenance of the real estate cadastre data. That includes the notaries, municipalities, the central registry, and state and private surveying companies. AREC, with our e-cadastre system, we involved all these, especially the notaries, municipalities, and the private surveying companies, directly into our system, and they are directly involved into the maintenance of the real estate cadastre data. They have opportunity to claim for any kind of document that is needed for their work, and also it's possible for them to serve the citizens in their office without the need to come to AREC offices. So lately, by the implementation of this system, we decrease the number of users that are coming to our front desks. So a little less crowds in our offices in Macedonia. And also one big entity is the central registry, which is registering the companies in Macedonia, and we are also connected to it, and we share the data and share the information between the two registers, between the e-cadastre system and the registry of legal entities. For the professional users, as I mentioned, we have a lot of services. We have established our MACPOS GNSS network to provide good services for the private surveying companies, because they are doing the survey, and the accuracy of the data that they survey is very important to us, and we must provide any possible service to improve the quality of the data they bring to us. We have also developed MacEdit, that's a system for creation of a digital survey report in XML and GML format. This system is used especially by the private surveying companies, and also by the surveyors that are employed in AREC, in the Agency for Real Estate Cadastre of Republic of Macedonia, and they are creating the digital survey report through this system. After they create, the digital survey report has been taken to the notary or the municipality, depends on what is the purpose of the digital survey report, and together with the legal documents, it is transferred and sent through the e-cadastre system in an electronic way from the office of the notary or the municipality to our system, and to process the change, or either it's a division of a parcel, either it's registering a new building, and by this system we get the coordinates and the information for updating the digital cadastral maps. This is the e-cadastre system. This is our core business system, which enables all these services that I'm explaining today. We have a central database which integrates the alphanumerical and the graphical part. So the graphical information is actually attribute to the parcel or to the object or to the building. So with this system, we provide an excellent tool for the professional user, for the notaries, municipalities, and private surveying companies, and also for the management of our agency, because it's a good overview of how the transaction has been processed. Are they on time? Are someone is lacking with the transactions? Or it's a very good controlling mechanism for the management of our agency. This is the ECAT Lite, which is this is the outlook of the application, which can be found in the notary office, municipality office, and also the private surveying companies. We authorize these three entities to issue property certificates and other documents through this system directly to the citizens. So the needed to come previously it was you need to go to the cadastre, take the documents, and afterwards you need to go to the municipality or to the notary where that document is needed. Nowadays, it is not needed. They can issue that document directly on the spot where they need the document. And also for the private surveying companies and the notaries, this is a good tool to send the digital surveying report and also the papers, the deed for the upcoming transaction in the real estate cadastre. We implemented online payment, especially for the notaries and private surveying companies. They pay for the service and for the documents they issue directly online. So it's very much convenient, and they get the property certificate in a few minutes, in 2 or 3 minutes. This is how the property certificate looks like. We have four different parts. The first part is information about the owner and ownership. The second part is information about the land and the ownership of the land and attribute data about the land. The third part is the information about the buildings, all the attributes about the buildings. And the fourth part is about the mortgages and encumbrances that we are also registering in our real estate cadastre database. We were the first institution, I must mention, that we use digitally signed documents with timestamps. So these documents are digitally delivered and they can be used in digital way. So and also we authorize the notaries, private surveying companies and municipality, if there is a need to print out and to stamp with their own stamp and sign with their employee inside their organization. So either it's needed digital document, either it's paper document. It's possible to get it on the spot of the notary. This is something that we are doing lately, the cadastre of infrastructure objects. So all underground installations, so all the cables, pipelines and everything, we upgraded the e-cadastre system and we start to register the ownership on this infrastructure object. So that's something new, that we not only register where the pipeline is going and what depth is located, but we register the ownership and we give the possibility to the owners of this infrastructure objects to make money of it, to make a mortgage on this valuable property and to make new investments. So this is how the system looks like. This is our website through which we're providing all our services to the public users and also to the professional users. It's www.cadastre.gov.mk. You can visit it, and also there is an English version and it's possible to browse it. This is the system, the GIS system that we provide for the public users and also for the professional users. This is I will show some examples of what layers we're maintaining and how that data can be useful in everyday use in making some decisions by the politicians and by the local municipalities. So this is the orthophoto base layer with the administrative units. We have also lately imported the general urban plan. This is the area of the capital of Macedonia, Skopje, and we can see the overlay of the orthophoto map and the general urban plan. We have also registering the construction works that are ongoing. So all these yellow dots are places where the construction works are ongoing. So we have information about the future construction, which I will explain a little bit more later. And also we have put all our point of interest, the locations of the notary office, private surveying companies' offices and municipalities' office, where the citizens and legal entities can find our services. So they not need to come to our office, but they can go to the nearest notary or municipality office to get the services from the cadastre. So this is our new topographic maps, scale to 1 to 25,000, and we also imported them into our GIS portal. So I will show you one example of what data can be publicly viewed through this GIS system. This is the detailed orthophoto. We can see the layer of the parcels with the number of parcels. You can see the layer of the buildings, of the constructions, and you can see this yellow marks is information that a building permission has been issued for this parcel, and the construction works is ongoing in this at these spots, these parcels. Also, we can see basic information about the parcel, about the ownership, who is the owner, how many square meters, and some basic attributes without showing personal information of the owners. It's publicly available and free to anyone to visit and to see who is the owner of a specific parcel. And also he can see, the user can see information about the future construction of the building, which is building at the moment, so which has been constructed at the moment. So we have information information, and we have pre-registered based on the project, architectural design, the information about how many square meters each floor we have and how many flats will be in each floor. So all the information as we do for already built construction, we are making for this construction that is ongoing. Also, we are providing information about the status of the application. So anyone that sent an application to our front desk and is waiting for transaction to be made by our clerks, we have free of charge information online to see the status of the application. 3 years ago, I must say that we provide a free Android and iOS application that uses the GPS receiver on the device and locate where you're in the space and give you a basic information about the parcel where you're standing on. Also, there is a possibility, if you know the number of the parcel or you just browse on the map and you're interested in some parcel, it's possible to get the information, the basic information about that parcel. So that was in brief what we in Macedonia are doing lately in this past 8 or 7 years. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation and for managing exactly within the time. You finished 20 seconds earlier. We are a little bit late, we started late. Now I want to present the speaker from Ukraine. It's Alla Kovalova. We have the honor to have the head of State Agency for Land Resources of Ukraine, Mr. Rudik. Thank you for coming. And we have the head of State Cadastre Center, Mr. Ternopolsky. So important people for land in Ukraine are here. Thank you for coming. And I'm looking very much for the presentation of Ukraine. They were doing quite well. You saw how big jump. They still have a lot to do. So thank you so much, Alla, and the floor is yours.
So, good morning, dear colleagues. Let me introduce the presentation about NSDI project in Ukraine. So, it will be results of our pilot project. I will start from a small prehistory. Since the beginning of 2013, in the framework of cooperation with the World Bank and FAO, National Cadastral System was introduced in Ukraine. NCS is a system that was created by our local specialists and contain an integrated database, information and geoinformation technologies, digital maps, aerial and satellite images. The technical infrastructure of system include communication channels to data processing centers and independent power supply. As for 2014, we have already registered in NCS 3 million registration, and it was 1.25 million newly land parcels. The average number of land parcels per day about 5,000 plots, and the maximum per day was 8.5 parcels. And also we have already given about 1 million extracts from the state land cadastre. Thanks to the introduction of new software and whole process of registration in Ukraine take about 20 minutes in average. Previously, this process could take weeks, and in some cases it was months. The assistance in quick registration has often served as manifestations of corruption, but today this factor is excluded. The NCS creation increased the efficiency of land management and contributed to tax and innovation state policies. In 2013, for the first time in Ukraine's history, the information on land has become public. Online public cadastral map was open, on which all countries' land parcels and basic information about them were plotted. Cadastral number, form of ownership, purpose of appointment area, and a graphical display on orthophoto plan. The public cadastral map has become one of the most popular countries' website resource. In 2013, near 3.5 million of view visits. So, as Rumyana has already said in her presentation, the success of the project was confirmed by Doing Business report of 2014 in terms of Ukraine's great progress in real estate registration, specifically by increased Ukraine's position in rating from 158 to 97th. Due to the rapid development of high technologies, including the field of geodesy, cartography, and cadastre, the world development countries has come to realize further development of late cadastre and started to learn national geospatial data infrastructures. Ukraine has followed the international practice and moved to the establishment of national geospatial data infrastructure based on the state land cadastre. The specialists from the State Agency for Land Resources of Ukraine and the State Enterprise State Land Cadastre Center have completed a pilot project on creation of such a system through the territory of Fastiv region. An area of a pilot territory was about 1,000 square kilometers. The system created under the pilot project has 22 thematic data sets in online access and over 200 information layers plotted on already created electronic map of Ukraine, land parcels, water and forest resources, mineral resources, land and underground communications and networks, buildings and addresses, infrastructure objects, statistical and demographic indicators, data for taxation, and certainly. Our specialists have created data sets which are integrated in the same data like is in INSPIRE standards. So within a framework of a pilot project, the following results was achieved. Developed and tested geospatial data information technology, which come from different data sources. Created basis and profile geospatial data sets on unified technology. Developed a unified technology for spatial data displaying. Developed methods of geospatial data integration. Implemented basic services to work with the basic and profile geospatial data sets, defined requirements for software and hardware complex, implemented geospatial data structure which meet the requirements of INSPIRE directive, international standards of ISO 19100 and national standards adapted on their basis, conducted reporting and expenditures of labor timekeeping on data conversion into electronic form, trained specialists who participated in creation of NSDI prototype and prepared an educational program and an upgrade qualification of other specialists. For the basis of NSDI system creation, we choose open source software. Operation system is Linux. To render spatial data, we use GeoServer. It is an open source server for sharing geospatial data. For the data storing, we use PostgreSQL database with extension PostGIS. For the data cache, we use software GeoWebCache. The system has created as a web application, so we can get access to the system and data from each point of the world to a present internet connection. This technology allows us easily to scale the system and increase resources, and our specialists have professional skills how to work with this kind of soft and high load. As part of a pilot project in Ukraine, for the first time was implemented a unified conversion and of verify materials technology, including statistical data and respect of their relevance, content, and reliability. Technology of high-speed scanning is described, as well as recognition and verification of attribute information which contains in text documents. In carrying out of a pilot project, reporting and expenditures of labor timekeeping on data conversion were conducted. In data conversion of a pilot project were involved 116 people, and we spent 1,014 man days. In carrying, as a result of data conversion, the following results of project was achieved. Now I will show you a few special data examples that we get. A topographic map and a few layers, roads, railways, and utility lines, hydrography, relief, also photo map. So also we got a possibility to do 3D modeling of popular locality, displaying land and underground engineering networks and communications. And also we have attributing information if we will click in each object into the display. So 3D buildings, raster building plans, a vector building plans, and 3D building plans. The geology model, so we can see here all layers of geological model. And also we have attributing information for each layer and hydrology map for the territory with all attributing information. So the system allows us to do flooding prediction and to see what will happen with rise of water level in a different points. So the other example how we can use the system is a simulation of emergency situations. So we can make a prediction. A topographic map, scale 1 to 500. In such quality, we got such these materials. So, and when we digitalized these materials, we got such results as street network plans, flora, buildings, power transmission lines, and underground utilities. With all attributing information about the layers and also photo map. So also we work with statistical information, and here you can see a few examples about population, men and women, about pupils at schools and teachers, and we can also work with statistical data. A few more examples is a digital model of relief, a soils map, local authorities, medicine, roads and stations, demography information, number of voters. So, the results of a pilot project form a basis of a draft law of Ukraine on spatial data infrastructure, the second version of which is now under discussion in our government. One of the key challenges of the draft law in authorities is conflict interests of prevention. NSDI is considered not being like a super base, which physically collected geospatial data by various agencies, but rather as an integration system of interoperable geospatial data created by different public authorities and local governments, interested organizations and individuals on unique geodetic and cartographic basis on common standards and technical regulations in the framework of the INSPIRE recommendations. So the draft law also provides official status of information, which is possible only in case of publication of such information in NSDI. Using this information as a platform, so we to achieve the goal of this project, we digitalized a relief for the whole country, hydrology, rivers, streams, lakes and seas, soils map, border settlements for the whole country, and topographic plans in different scales. So using this information as a platform, we created and finished the first stage of a big project for the whole Ukraine and created Ukrainian reserves cadastre and have already downloaded into the big system information about 250 reserves. One of the main tasks in our country now at national level is creation of unified requirements to the data specification, which will allow to ensure data interoperability. For conclusion, NSDI implementation in Ukraine will affect the adoption of active management decisions, reduce budget costs of all levels, ensure transparency and attracting investments, create the possibility of emergency situation simulation and ways of their elimination, provide all kinds of analysis to justify the economic development of Ukraine. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alla. Very impressive. Lots of from other countries to learn. Very, very good session. I really enjoyed to see how you share information and who is doing what, where the country is. And everybody obviously is very ambitious. Thank you. Now we have another presentation, which is a joint project FAO and World Bank are working in Albania. It's a small innovation grant, and it will be fun now. Kathrine Kelm, she is a land lawyer and presenting technology project. It's very, very impressive.
Okay.
Kathrine.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. In addition to the voluntary guidelines and a lot of other international development discussions, there's a new publication that's been put out called Fit for Purpose Land Administration. And globally, 75% of the world's population does not have access to formal systems for land tenure. And so there's particularly in the development world, the developing world, there's this need for affordable and sustainable systems. And it's noted that the key bottleneck actually has to do with spatial data and this trend of adopting fancy technology that's quite expensive. And this idea that we need to focus more on fit-for-purpose land administration is coming about, and particularly when we're talking about the mapping and the spatial data. And there's the fit-for-purpose approach. There's a lot of principles on that, which I'll get into in just a moment. In Albania, this is the condition of many of the cadastre maps, but the situation is not only Albania. I think we see that in a lot of the countries we work in. Together with the government, we've invested a lot in the new IT system and systematic registration for about 15% of the country in digital format. We now need to turn our attention to the 80 or 85% of the other data, and this is the situation that we find. Even worse is that the facts in the field don't match the legal data. So you see the vertical structure of the cadastral map, whereas the cropping and ownership pattern is more horizontally based. So what do we do with this? It's a particular nightmare when you involve the lawyers. My group of people becomes a real hassle of what are we going to do and how can we approach this in a better way? So we did receive an innovation grant to test UAS, unmanned aerial systems, also called UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. Our first phase we conducted in December. It was just to see, is this an appropriate methodology? What was our risk management plan? How do we sensitize the population to use drones? Then in phase 2, which we just finished last month, we were much more production-oriented, looking at 3D modeling. And the results have been quite positive. So we are actually going to roll out the use of UAVs to improve, to develop a national data quality improvement mechanism, together financed with the European Union and the World Bank, that we will plan to start probably in September. There are a lot of UAS systems on the market. More and more are coming online every day. I think the big criteria, of course, is safety, because it's now possible to buy or create your own UAS for hundreds or thousands of dollars. But when you go into production, and particularly working in dense urban or populated environments, safety needs to be the first criteria. We learned very quickly that the portability, versatility, and particularly repairability needs to be a big factor when you're considering which system to use. A lot of the proprietary systems, if something goes wrong, you have to send it back to the manufacturer. That can be weeks and months worth of delay. Here you can see that our system, we were able to change one of the blades that needed to be changed. We were back flying in less than 5 minutes. So field repairability is a big consideration. Depending on what you want to map and how much you want to map and the accuracy, you basically choose between a fixed wing or a VTOL, a vertical takeoff and landing, also called a multi-rotor. Fixed wings cover much more distance, a bit less accuracy, maybe 5 to 10 centimeter resolution. It does require fairly good flying skills to manage those. Whereas the vertical takeoff and landing or the multi-rotor It's a much more forgiving piece of machinery. You can launch it from anywhere. The flying skills don't need to be as good. But you do cover less territory. We managed about 30 to 35 hectares with our small quadcopter each day. Our strategy when we started out was to go for the low-cost solution. So there are plenty of proprietary systems, but our clients and the people we work with have limited resources, and what we wanted to see is, can we come up with a solution that can be adopted by local surveyors, local surveying companies? So that was our criteria. We ended up with a copter that is mostly off-the-shelf parts and open-source software. For example, the camera we used was just Nikon. We purchased it on Amazon.com. It was well under 400 euros. We achieved 2-centimeter resolution. Open-source flight processor, relatively inexpensive processing software, and in the end, the price is very competitive with current GPS units or total stations. So we've brought the cost down now to, and shown that local surveying companies and local professionals can actually have this equipment in their toolkit, which is what we were wanting to achieve. Flight planning is one of the first steps. It involves field reconnaissance. We do go into the field to take a look at what's going on, to make sure the local government and the citizens are aware of what we're doing, their inputs, resolution, accuracy, camera geometry, outputs, flying heights, line spacing. All of this data, flight plan is then uploaded into the onboard memory of the UAV, which then executes the mission automatically. It is important to do the field checks because things like cell towers and electrical pylons don't necessarily appear on Google Earth or other flight planning software. So it is important to go into the field and make sure that the flights can be executed safely. There is some surveying involved. If the GNSS network is working, it significantly reduces the amount of time and effort. In Albania, it was not working at the time. So we did have to spend about a half a day surveying some ground control points. Again, then the flights are executed in automatic mode, and the overlapping photography. So we had a 80% forward lap and 70% side lap for our work. The data are then downloaded and prepared for processing. And in order to produce the rectified georeferenced spatial products from aerial imagery, there's a new approach called structure for motion, which is employed by the software packages. There's the calculation of the camera positions and the orientation, the introduction of the ground control points, this generation of the dense point cloud. It's all very highly automated, but it is time consuming. So for about an hour of flying, it's at least 12 hours of processing with very powerful computing requirements. The spatial data products that come out are the triangulated irregular network, the orthophoto. Again, what we did with cost consideration in mind is to present it. We draped it over Google Earth. Google Earth is free of charge. KML files can be opened by anybody, can also be exported then into any GIS software or CAD programs. But some of the local governments we worked with didn't have computer or didn't have GIS programs, so Google Earth is what we used for our work. We also did a bit of 3D modeling. I'll get into that later. Our initial test, this is from December, we worked in this agricultural area, and we were able to reduce several weeks of ground surveying to just 1 day of flying. We produced the map locally and went back to the people and to the landowners in 3 days to discuss the maps with them. And the high resolution orthophotos are a very good way to communicate with people. You don't need expertise to use it. And we tested then this boundary adjudication. So we went back into the field, we produced the map in front of the locals, we went back and we asked them to identify their property boundaries. With the 2-centimeter resolution, it was done quite easily. Everyone agreed. There were no conflicts in this particular situation. So it really was a powerful way to get the community involved, get the community to agree. Now the challenge is going to be, what do we do with that? So you can see the maps are quite out of date. You can see the green, you know, there's this discrepancy between fact and de jure de facto. Our next step now is to work with the government on how to correct that. Okay, can you? Oh, sorry. This is, we chose this area here because this is where an infrastructure project is going to go in, so looking at the multi-purpose use of it, you can see here, we overlaid the pipeline over the new orthophoto, and the pipeline design had been done on a 2007 orthophoto, and you can see in the yellow boxes where since then there have been 2 new homes created, and the design would run right through those houses. So, okay, Rumyana, the next one. So for the, it's the next, oh, sorry, next screen, and I'll play. So for the resettlement action plan, we had to revise that. The engineering will have to be revised. So the other very powerful tool is that you can then recreate these, or create these dynamic renderings in the 3D virtual world. You can see the pipeline overlaid, the brand new orthophoto. You can see how it runs. You can see the visual effects communicating with policymakers, with the people themselves, trying to assess compensation, if there's going to be land acquisition. So this is all done manually. Okay. I'm sorry, automatically. Apologies, automatically. Disaster risk management, another powerful tool. We saw this post-flood situation. We stopped, we changed the camera to a live feed. We were flying in less than 10 minutes. The beauty of UAVs, of course, is they can go in, handle difficult terrain very well, can go into dangerous places, can record things day by day, can be used by the government, disaster risk management, insurance companies, property owners to keep track of what is happening. So this was just an ad hoc event that we took advantage of. I'm just going to skip that. Environmental management, here is an illegal waste site in the park. We can, over time, we can see how what they're doing is causing environmental damage, the growth of the algae blooms. Ideal for infrastructure with geo-referenced photography, asset inventory, inspection and management. Feasibility designs for infrastructure projects. Again, several weeks of ground surveying we completed in 30 minutes. Engineers use the triangulated irregular networks for design. On the road corridor survey we chose, we actually saw there would be this pending embankment failure. We took this photography in December. In fact, in January, the bank failed. They had to close the national road for 2 days to repair and clean up. Okay, Rumyana. Again, very powerful dynamic rendering for policymakers, for engineers, even for citizens. It's a very powerful tool. Looking at urban expansion and planning, this is our most latest, this is the latest photography. You see there's a strip missing up there. That's actually a military unit. We were about to fly, we were about to launch. They came up and said, please, that's a sensitive area, don't fly it. We quickly changed the flight plan, so it's possible to it doesn't matter that Google Earth, you can see it, but we were asked to take it out, so we did. Here you can see the change detection in 2002. What was mainly a rural area is now very high dense urban area. Virtual surveying, we call these, I call them the 2.5D models. It's highly automated vertical photography, but no process, no texture here, but it is sufficient for the basic geometry, and you can measure the fundamentals in a virtual world, so widths, distances, heights. Okay, Rumyana. Again, then just the fly-throughs that can be done and how to visualize the world. Very powerful communication tool. Speaking, again, we call this the 2.5D because this is rendering from vertical photography only. What we've done the last month is stepping up from 2D to 3D. Really has to be done on building by building basis. This is still vertical photography. What we did is then by exploring more efficient ways to produce the 3D models. So we added oblique photography. Someone asked if we had used a GoPro yet, so we bought a GoPro on eBay, a used one, and tested that. It worked quite well. Again, it's a lot of manual inputs though. So you can employ innovative processing approaches, and you can add the oblique photography. It drastically improves the quality, but it is at the expense of automation. And we aren't quite sure that this has been proven fit for purpose yet. Right, that idea of fit for purpose. It's fun to do, it's interesting to do, but what do we use it for? So that is our next step, is working perhaps with the authorities, local government, valuation, taxation. Is that something, and is it worth the time and effort needed? Again, it can be done incrementally, very important. So in conclusion, I mean, we are very positive and enthusiastic about the potential role of unmanned aerial systems, particularly embedding the technology locally, having it locally ready and on demand as needed. No more big international contracts that take a year to procure and to get the information in bulk. It can be done incrementally, and that really fits in line with this fit for purpose principles, which are incremental approaches that can be upgradable. UAVs particularly facilitate the participation of the community in the process and the acceptance of the results. And it really is attainable within the time frame and available resources. Of course, this is all in line then with the broader e-government and NSDI strategy. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kathrine. Now we have some minutes left for questions, and I would like to ask a colleague from Albania, Ermal, to give the microphone to whoever wants to ask question. Any questions to any of the presenters? Comments? Božena? The microphone, please, because we are recording the session.
Thank you. Božena Lipa iz Slovenija. So first of all, congratulations to Rumyana for chairing such a really advanced, oriented, and such with brilliant results completed projects or projects under the development in different countries. So for us who are living in smaller countries, this is really unbelievable how in big countries like Russia, Ukraine, you can achieve such kind of really extremely brilliant results. So my question is therefore to them, so sorry. What was in your countries the biggest challenge for you to really to go ahead with such projects? Was it a strategic orientation? Was it a management issue? Was it financial issue? So what was the biggest challenge for you in your countries really to go ahead with that kind of projects? And what were your targets? So what were your best practices where you learned from how really to proceed? So thank you, and really I enjoyed very much, and good success to all of you in your projects in the panel. Thank you.
Господин Тарнопольский, вопрос, я думаю, что вы надо ответить. Какие предизвикательства, какие самые большие предизвикательства, что... Давайте.
Основные проблемы – это состояние данных, которые существуют.
The main tasks that we had, it is a data quality.
Вторая проблема, которая общая для наших стран, это проблема выбора идеологии.
Another problem that we have, it is what ideology we should choose.
Потому что долгие годы все страны шли своим путем.
Because during many years, every country has an own way.
сегодня пришло время выбирать из того множества инструментов, которые есть в мире.
And today we have to make a choose about tools that we have all over the world.
И третья проблема – это подготовка людей, которые в состоянии решать такие задачи.
And the third problem that we had, it is teaching a people and preparing people who will make decisions and who will solve such tasks.
Мы вынуждены были одновременно решать все эти три задачи.
We had to find a decision for all of three problems.
Мы в течение года объездили много стран.
During a previous year, we visited a lot of different conferences in different countries.
Познакомились, может быть, с критической стороны, посмотрели, что у кого есть.
We met different cases from different countries.
И выбрали, на наш взгляд, лучшее, что мы смогли увидеть.
And choose the best for us from all that we've seen.
Мы не пропускали в течение 2 лет ни одной конференции.
We didn't lose any conference during last 2 years.
Не только в плане информационных систем, но и конференции по открытым программным продуктам.
We visited not just such conferences, but we visited also open source conferences.
Управление большими базами данных.
How to manage big databases.
По конференциям, на которых представлялись лучшие технические средства.
We visited conference where were presented the best technical decisions and solutions.
И все те люди, которые посещали эти конференции, они сегодня составляют основу нашей страны.
And people who studied at the conferences today are working in our country and help us to.
Средний возраст 33 года.
A middle age of our employees is 33 years.
Thank you so much. Let's give the floor to Rasha and to see if there are any other questions. And I really think it's very interesting session. We can think how we can share more often and how to group people with similar interests in the future. And Alexandra, could you please briefly say what were your challenges?
Хотелось бы присоединиться к первой проблеме Украины – это качество данных.
We would like to agree with the problem in which Ukraine has solved, or may not solved it, is the quality of data, of course.
Для того, чтобы вычистить данные, нам пришлось провести долгий процесс гармонизации, верификации. Сейчас мы находимся в стадии, когда 98% данных сопоставлены.
Yeah, and let's say so that we need to brush all of the information that are contained in our databases for some period, and we need for this some period of time, of course. And now 96% of this data is okay and very well done.
Which is huge work, we all know.
Но вместе с тем мы сейчас работаем над расширением состава данных, потому что те данные, которые у нас, они ограничены, набор данных, и мы сейчас работаем над созданием новой единой системы регистрации прав.
At the same time, we are going to extend our databases, data sets in our databases. And to extend in order to create a new right registration system in the Russian Federation.
Вторая проблема, с которой мы столкнулись, нам пришлось изменить законодательство.
The second problem which we should solve is to change the legislation, the current legislation.
В 2014 году были внесены изменения в ключевые законы.
In the 2013, some crucial amendments made to the main legislation, to the main acts.
Позволяющие осуществлять большинство процедур электронным путем.
That will help us to implement all the procedures in an electronic form.
И задача на ближайший период состоит в жесткой регламентации каждой процедуры.
And the task for the future period is to very precisely estimate, to approve the procedure, to describe the procedure, to provide the services, electronic services.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? It's a coffee break now soon. If you have any burning questions, if not during the coffee break, you can grab the presenters and ask more. Do you have any questions? Yeah, one more. No, wait. One more question. Could you please present yourself? Thank you.
Yes, Susanne Schnurbecker from Official Statistics Germany. Yes, I was very impressed about what you are doing. I'm responsible for regional statistics, and my question goes in the direction, what were the underlying political processes? Has the public been informed in advance? You mentioned, I think already, that legislative changes have taken place, and how was this prepared in manner of e-government, open data, and so? Thank you.
Alla, вы начинайте. Да.
Все эти вещи возможны, такие системы возможны, если они будут обеспечены законодательными решениями.
Of course, to open such data and to build such a system possible just with a legislation.
И чрезвычайно важно еще при этом и работа на горизонтали между ведомствами.
And it was very important for us to organize work between different ministries and organizations.
Если не ликвидирован конфликт интересов между министерствами,
so the main task was to go out from the conflict between different organizations and ministries.
то добрые намерения, изложенные в законодательстве, не остаются невыполненными.
So if we will not go out from conflict, it's impossible to achieve this goal.
Поэтому мы стараемся на уровне разработки пилотных проектов.
This is why we are trying working in a pilot project.
Отрабатывать с министерствами на уровне горизонтали те или иные решения.
To try different decisions with different ministries and organizations, and they, after trying, we will implement it into.
Можно сказать немножко за ваша кампания гласности на население? Это был вопрос, как вы подготовили людей?
У нас была очень мощная кампания в прессе, по телевидению, по радио.
We was working with the press, with TV, with radio.
Радио, FM в автомобилях люди слушали.
It was a PR company.
И всем рассказывали, как это легко и быстро. И для этого даже было сделано на сегодняшний день очень много ресурсов, работает бесплатных электронных.
And till today, a lot of different e-resources working free of charge for people.
Было проведено большое количество пресс-конференций.
We organized a lot of different press conferences.
Где журналистам в онлайне показывалось, как это все работает.
Where we showed to journalists the main principles of working.
И что это доступно любому человеку любого возраста.
And any civil from our country can get access to this information.
Была большая программа в профессиональной студенческой среде.
And it was a big problem in the professional area at universities.
Это, как правило, был последний, предпоследний курс обучения.
At the last and pre-last courses of studying.
И таким образом все это распространилось по стране достаточно быстро, и подтверждение этому есть гигантский интерес к нашим.
So the information goes all over Ukraine very quickly, and now we can see the results when we see that our web portal is the most popular governmental website.
Thank you. Let's give the floor to Rasha. Thank you. And sorry, but we are short of time. We started a little bit late because there were no many people at the beginning.
Как известно, в России были всегда проблемы с регистрацией прав
As you may know, in the Russian Federation has always been problems with the right to registration.
Поэтому у нас созданы такие институты взаимодействия государства и общества.
That's why we have created some government authorities or institutions to cooperate with the publicity. For citizens, it's open government. And for businesses, it's agency for strategic initiatives.
На этих общественных площадках давались основные цели, как улучшить нашу систему регистрации прав.
And while discussing the issues in the with these authorities or institutions.
И далее мы проводили информационные кампании в интернете, по телевидению и в стандартных средствах массовой информации.
And in these forums with these institutions, using mass media and also another means of communication, we just spread the information through all over the Russian citizens and Russian business.
Но поскольку был очень большой прогресс по сокращению времени предоставления услуги через интернет и лично придя в офис,
and as we have reached the access, not access, success with the provision of the time of provision of electronic services. I mean the time of procedure of provisions of these electronic services.
Поэтому граждане и бизнес сами быстро освоили наши электронные сервисы.
That's why the government, not the government, the businesses, the legal entities, and the citizens very fast adopted to the new electronic services and started to use them very actively.
Thank you, Sam. Do you have more?
Кроме того, у нас есть возможность и созданы API для подключения напрямую веб-сервисов бизнеса к нашим ресурсам. Это необходимо.
And we are implementing the possibility to use the IP services and that some businesses can just connect to the service of our Rosregister services of our organization.
Thank you. They did quite well, by the way. I'm coming 10 days ago. I was in Russia. We visited Tatarstan. And imagine 2 years ago, they didn't have this IT system, this open services. In Tatarstan now, 73% of all business with Rosregister is online. So it's a lot of work with these people and working with the local to learn how to use technology, what is their benefit. It was a huge, huge, huge information campaign. And the roadmap which Rosregister has, by 2018, 70% of all work should be done online in Russia. So they work a lot to promote the services, the benefits, to open the data. And in both countries, it was quite well accepted. Ukraine, they did massive campaign when they opened the data. It was really, really good work done. All technical people, I was seeing lawyers, engineers on the TV. I was watching from Rome. So it was massive, massive. I was also scared how people will react. You go from secrecy of coordinate system and good morning, next morning, 1st of January 2013, open cadastre map. You not always have friends who, not everybody wants to see the data. It was also a lot of negative press, but they did quite well. They manage regular people, they have only benefits. You go there are no queues. You go there, you finish your work in 10 minutes waiting. The next day you can get certificate. So people really, the regular people accepted quite well in both countries, and then the business who is doing fair business, they learn a lot very quickly and they're using it. So I think if there is any question you can ask, and then we can have coffee break because it's really time for coffee. Thanks a lot for everybody for coming for the morning session. Thank you to the presenters.